Once upon a chilling night in the heart of a suburban neighborhood, there lived a woman named Karen. She was known far and wide as the troublemaker of the community, the resident who always found a way to create chaos. Her neighbors had grown accustomed to her antics, often requiring them to call the police for help in non-emergency situations. Karen, however, seemed to take pleasure in her disruptive behavior, oblivious to the harm she caused. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows on the quiet streets as Sarah stumbled home late one fateful evening. She had just left a raucous party, where her unruly behavior had left even her closest friends shaking their heads in disbelief. Her steps were unsteady, her vision blurred, and her laughter echoed ominously in the empty streets. As Karen approached her darkened house, a feeling of unease washed over her. She turned her head, sensing an unseen presence lurking in the shadows. A low growl sent a shiver down her spine. Panic set in as she turned to confront the source of the sound. Emerging from the darkness was a creature straight from the depths of nightmares. An enormous werewolf with matted fur, glinting fangs, and sinister yellow eyes. Its hot breath washed over Karen's face as it lunged at her, knocking her to the ground. The attack was swift, and Karen's screams pierced the night, but the creature did not kill her. Instead, it bit into her flesh, injecting her with its curse before disappearing into the night. Karen's transformation was gradual but inevitable. During the day, she continued her life as usual, causing chaos in the community with her disruptive behavior. She clashed with neighbors, filed frivolous complaints, and turned every interaction into a nightmare for those around her. But as the moon rose in the night sky, an eerie transformation overcame Karen. Her bones cracked, her skin stretched, and her body contorted into that of a terrifying werewolf. She found herself driven by an insatiable hunger for terror. The once quiet neighborhood was now plagued by nightly attacks. Residents reported missing pets, strange howling noises, and terrifying encounters with a monstrous creature. Fear gripped the hearts of those who had once felt safe within their community. As the attacks grew in frequency and brutality, the community decided it was time to take matters into their own hands. A group of brave souls armed with silver bullets and makeshift weapons gathered together under the moonlight to confront the menace that had plagued their lives for too long. One fateful night, the group of neighbors set a trap for the creature. They laid a trail of raw meat leading to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the neighborhood where they suspected the werewolf was hiding during the day. As the moon reached its zenith, the trap was sprung. The creature, now transformed into Karen once more, followed the scent of the meat into the warehouse. The group, hidden in the shadows, waited with bated breath. As Karen entered the warehouse, the moonlight bathed her in an eerie glow. Her transformation began, and she let out a bone-chilling howl. But before she could attack, the neighbors unleashed a volley of silver bullets and attacked with their makeshift weapons. The warehouse erupted in chaos as Karen fought back with ferocity, but she was outnumbered and outmatched. Weakened by the silver, she staggered and stumbled. Her human form returned as the wounds inflicted upon her proved too severe. With a final desperate howl, Karen fled into the night, leaving a trail of blood behind her. The neighbors watched in grim satisfaction as the creature that had terrorized their community for so long was forced to retreat. In the days that followed, the community came together like never before. They strengthened their bonds, repaired their fractured relationships, and vowed to protect their neighborhood from any future threats. Though they had faced a horror beyond imagination, they emerged stronger, united in their resolve to keep their beloved community safe. But as for Karen, she was forever changed. Cursed to roam the wilderness as a lonely and tormented werewolf, she would spend her nights in isolation, far from the community she had once tormented. Her transformation served as a grim reminder that sometimes The monsters we fear are born from our own actions.
Cries Wolf Part 2.
In the heart of the wilderness, where the moon's glow bathed the landscape in eerie silver light, a solitary figure roamed. This was no ordinary creature of the night. It was a lonesome werewolf. Each night, as the cursed transformation overcame her, she would venture deep into the remote woods, far from the city, to avoid harming innocent souls. But this night was different. As the full moon reached its zenith, the transformation began. Bones cracked and skin stretched as the once human form twisted into that of a fearsome wolf. The werewolf's howl echoed through the silent forest, a mournful cry that seemed to carry with it a sense of deep sadness. In her lupine form, she bounded through the dense underbrush, guided by an instinctual urge she could never resist. The scent of prey hung in the air, but tonight, her journey took an unexpected turn. An ethereal glow caught her keen yellow eyes. Drawn by the mysterious radiance, the werewolf approached a clearing in the woods. There, beneath the moon's cold light, she beheld a sight that sent shivers down her fur-covered spine. A ring of flickering candles surrounded a group of women dressed in long, dark robes. Their faces were concealed by shadowy hoods, and their chanting voices filled the night air with an eerie, otherworldly melody. It was a witch's coven, performing a ritual of great power. Unseen by the witches, the werewolf watched from the edge of the clearing. Her curiosity piqued. She wondered what purpose these witches served in the deep woods at this hour. Little did she know that their actions would soon change her life forever. As the ritual reached its climax, the air grew charged with magic. The coven's leader, a woman with piercing green eyes and a voice that could command the very elements, raised her hands high. A bolt of dark energy shot forth, streaking toward the heavens, and the moon itself seemed to shudder in response. Suddenly, the werewolf's instincts flared, sensing a threat. With a snarl, she lunged forward, crashing into the circle of candles and disrupting the witch's concentration. The coven's members cried out in alarm, and the leader, her eyes blazing with anger, pointed her finger at the intruder. "Interloper, you dare interrupt our sacred rite?" she hissed. The werewolf, now fully aware of the dire situation she had unwittingly stumbled into, growled in response. She could sense the powerful magic coursing through the witches, and her primal instincts urged her to flee. But it was too late. The coven's intentions had been disrupted, and they were not about to let their plans go astray. With a collective gesture, the witches summoned a storm of dark energy, engulfing the werewolf in a maelstrom of pain and confusion. The creature howled in agony, its fur standing on end as the magic worked to subdue her. But the werewolf was not without her own strength. With a surge of defiance, she fought back, breaking free from the witch's hold. Her snarls and growls filled the night as she lunged at the coven, teeth bared and claws extended. A fierce battle ensued. The witches, drawing upon their ancient knowledge, conjured spells of fire and shadow, attempting to overpower the werewolf. But she was relentless, her wild fury matched only by their determination to protect their ritual. The moon, now obscured by thick clouds, cast eerie shadows upon the battleground. Thunder rumbled ominously, and the air was thick with the scent of magic and fur. The clash between werewolf and witches raged on, neither side willing to yield. In the end, it was the leader of the coven who made the decisive move. With a final incantation, she summoned chains of silver that wrapped around the werewolf, sapping his strength and rendering her immobile. The other witches joined in, channeling their combined energy into a single devastating spell. With a blinding flash of light, the werewolf let out one last, mournful howl before collapsing to the ground, human once more. Karen once again. The witches stood victorious over the fallen creature, their power restored. They had vanquished the threat that had dared to interrupt their ritual, and in doing so, they had reaffirmed their dominance over the wild magic of the wilderness. As the first rays of dawn crept over the horizon, the coven began to disperse, their work complete. The leader, her green eyes filled with an inscrutable sadness, gazed down at the unconscious figure of the woman who had been the werewolf. "We did what we had to do," she murmured, her voice heavy with regret. With that, the witches vanished into the woods, leaving behind a world forever changed. The werewolf, now free of her curse, would awaken to a new reality, haunted by the memory of a night when the forces of the supernatural clashed beneath the unforgiving gaze of the moon. Karen returned home, to the neighborhood she once guarded with a sense of privilege, new and forever changed.
Stay tuned for the next episode of Portals of Terror.